and a throng gathered around the temple of class change. Philip, closing his eyes, welcomed the newcomers. Standing behind him, Sanhan introduced himself. Philip, adjusting his glasses, explained he had been created to assist players. The main character extended his hand, inquiring about the classes visible in his status window. Philip, after a moment of contemplation, noted that it had only been 2 days since Sanhan embarked on his mission, and yet he had already acquired 3 classes. Observing the unique coat Sanhan wore, he smiled and clarified that the classes he had obtained were temporary, based on his current weapon. Over time, these could evolve. Should he wield an axe, he would become an axe master instead of a swordsman, while focusing solely on magic would solidify his classification as a magician. However, he explained, the classes offered at the temple were non-negotiable and selected based on inherent characteristics. Intrigued, Sanhan asked about these characteristics. Philip, grinning, suggested they take a closer look. With a flourish, he conjured a vast system window displaying various classes: shaman, deacon, archer, magician, spiritualist, priest, thief, robber, infantry, cavalry, shield soldier, doctor, merchant, and cook. Sanhan studied the list intently, while Philip proclaimed that the temple assigned classes based on the player's experience, questioning whether this was not the most effective method to reveal one's true abilities. In that instant, a new window appeared before Sanhan, revealing recommended classes: gladiator, mage, swordsman, poisoner, schemer, berserker, and righteous criminal. He asked if these recommended classes were stronger than the standard ones. Philip, placing his hands on his hips, replied with a knowing smile that it could be both yes and no. He added that the cost of acquiring a class was 50,000 gold. Sanhan pondered this, considering the profitability of investing in a class change, especially by eliminating those with limited opportunities. Presenting 2 blue cards, he concluded that only the swordsman and the righteous criminal remained in contention, both of which held promise. In the digital realm, a notification flickered into view, cautioning the protagonist against employing craven tactics. After opting for a path of righteous villainy, the main character, Sanhan, felt a palpable disdain for the term cowardly methods. The ambiguity of such a phrase left him pondering its implications, particularly as he considered the intricacies of combat devoid of traps and poisons. With a resigned sigh, Sanhan expressed his desire to reassess his class to that of a swordsman. Philip, a figure of authority, responded with a knowing smile, inquiring whether the young man had the requisite funds. Sanhan produced a hefty pouch containing 50,000 gold coins, presenting it with a humble please. Philip scrutinized him closely, reflecting on the stark contrast between the destitute beggars wandering the streets, who often went without even a paltry 10 gold coins, and Sanhan's newfound wealth. In light of this, Philip congratulated him on his transition to swordsman. In the ethereal expanse of energy, the system declared that Sanhan had indeed embraced his new class. His attributes surged by 3 points, and his skill proficiency saw a modest uptick. He acquired the exclusive skill known as Steps, alongside the rare passive ability titled Endless Spirit of the Explorer. The system elucidated that Steps comprised a method of precise, intricate movements designed to confound adversaries. In contrast, Endless Spirit of the Explorer was characterized by its capacity for extensive intelligence acquisition, albeit at the cost of diminishing skill growth. Curiosity piqued, Sanhan contemplated the nature of active versus passive skills, pondering the significance of temporary and permanent abilities. Observing his statistics, he noted an enhancement of 18 points overall, alongside skills he deemed invaluable. As he ambled along the bustling street, he felt an unsettling tingle coursing through his body, prompting him to hasten his pace. Suddenly, he caught sight of Muhan, accompanied by a young woman. Their gaze bore into him, and as he appraised their uniforms and weaponry, he surmised they were formidable opponents. Perhaps, he mused, it was his own armament that drew their attention. A sudden outcry shattered his thoughts. A man, brazenly seizing the girl's hand, commanded her to heed their leader's summons. The ranker, however, ordered him to relinquish her. Displeased, the man retorted, and the girl, resolute, demanded her freedom, threatening dire consequences if he persisted. A grin spread across the man's face as he taunted her, questioning her sanity. In an instant, the ranker retaliated, severing the man's hand with a swift stroke of her sword. Sanhan observed the scene unfold with a mix of horror and intrigue, noting the terror etched on the faces of the man's companions. The latter screamed in agony as he clutched his mutilated limb, filling the air with anguished cries. The girl turned to her comrades, warning them against any further aggression. The man's assistants, horrified, fled the scene. Sanhan was captivated by the girl's aura, which shimmered with a formidable energy. The system announced this effect was designed to instill fear in opponents, enhancing the likelihood of delivering a decisive blow. He marveled at the pressure she exuded, reflecting on how the increase in his stats after class change rendered him largely unaffected. Muhan approached Sanhan with a mocking tone, commenting on his apparent intellect. He insinuated that Sanhan had played a significant role during the tutorial, given his attire and weaponry. Muhan's demeanor shifted as he declared himself the leader, pressing Sanhan to join their ranks. The main character, wary of revealing his true identity as a traitor or survivor, opted for a diplomatic facade, introducing himself as a brave survivor. Muhan smirked, suggesting that aligning with them would yield loyal allies and financial support, while a strong ally like Sanhan would serve as a formidable protector. When Sanhan questioned Muhan's claim of possessing 50 strength points, Muhan confidently asserted that his stats had increased upon entering this realm, boasting about his high intelligence as well. Sanhan, however, scrutinized his own abilities, realizing his strength stats barely reached 20. He sensed Muhan exuded a reckless bravado. After a moment of contemplation, Sanhan declined Muhan's offer, preferring solitude. Muhan, undeterred, encouraged him to reconsider, assuring him of a warm welcome should he change his mind. Determined to bolster his skills, Sanhan continued down the street towards the notice board. He recognized the necessity of elevating the challenge level to afford the extravagant city prices. He and Mei simultaneously expressed their eagerness to confront the sickly orc. As their eyes met, Sanhan recognized her intention to provoke the creature. Mei slammed her palm on the counter, declaring the orc's speed a factor to consider. Sarah, another bystander, quickly agreed, adding her own observations. Sanhan's mind raced as he contemplated the implications of their dialogue. He felt a sense of dread, fearing he might forfeit the championship bonus. In a moment of urgency, he slammed his palm on the table, exclaiming that he too had an adversary in the sick orc. Sarah, taken aback, initially questioned his assertion before ultimately acknowledging it. As time elapsed, Sanhan moved forward, grappling with a sense of foreboding, likening the complexity of the encounter to that of a predator stalking its prey. He resolved to press on, opening the system window to conjure a sumptuous chicken as bait. The orcs, upon discovering the unexpected feast, hesitated, questioning the peculiar circumstances surrounding food in the midst of the forest. In a split second, Sanhan seized the opportunity, bursting forth from his concealment. He unleashed a shockwave, causing the orc to spin around in confusion. With sword drawn, he confronted the creature, who was momentarily stunned by the audacity of a human standing firm before him. With a surge of adrenaline, Sanhan prepared for battle, reflecting on the disparity between the orc he faced and the ones he had encountered in the training room. He swung his sword, yet the practiced maneuvers he had rehearsed seemed inadequate. Doubt crept in as he realized he lacked a decisive technique. The orc,